How you doing, everybody? Jim Gonzalez. It's another wonderful Wednesday. A little dreary, a little bit of rain going on, but the beauty is that we're here, we're still alive, and everything's moving forward. So, what we want to talk about today is it's a topic that not to want to say that I get frustrated about, but it's a topic that is on top of my mind whenever I'm talking to any type of real small companies. A lot of times your medium companies understand, but your small businesses, the topic is still pushing back on EDI. Here's what it's costing you. So think about, what does that look like? What's that costing me? The fun part is you're losing out on opportunities that are easily obtainable or easier obtainable when you're dealing with EDI and how EDI can help your business. So the big things that I always say is you want to start out by thinking, what does EDI mean? EDI is automation. It's making things easier. A lot of times when you're looking at it from a standpoint, EDI is, yes, built and better for your enterprise, larger organizations, and when you're having to meet their requirements and all of those things are your trading partners, EDI can seem as a very daunting task. Okay, so let me first start off by saying things are not the easiest. So if you're a small business and you're procrastinating with EDI, it's most likely because one of the following reasons. It feels like an extra cost. It looks complex. A lot of organizations want you to think it's complex so that they can charge you more money. The more you're scared, the more you're going to spend. All of those fun things. Some people say, "Oh, we can manage without it for now," or "Oh, we can figure out ways around it." All we've had bad experiences anytime that we've thought of bringing on EDI and looking at automating. Well, most SMBs don't reject EDI because they're wrong. They reject it because no one explained it properly. Nobody's giving them the direct insight as to, hey, this is why you should do EDI. This is where things go south. And hopefully through this session, I can share that insight with you and I can give you that understanding. So where SMBs think the cost is, this is what you see: setup fees, monthly costs, per document pricing, all of those things. And you think, why do I need to take on that overhead? That doesn't make any sense to me. Well, the visible cost is where things actually cost: delayed payments, invoices not properly being paid on time, chargebacks, deductions, ASN errors, compliance gaps, manual processing, time, labor, and mistakes, missed retailer opportunities due to slow onboarding, operational inefficiencies, and constant firefighting. So those are your real costs when you neglect or think EDI doesn't need to be handled. The truth of the matter is, depending on your trading partners, some of those trading partners, if you don't put a label on a box, they could charge you $5 or more for a missing label on the box. Well, it doesn't sound like much until you're shipping hundreds of boxes. Then it adds up pretty quick, especially if you have slim margins. The next thing is they're going to be looking at you to send ASNs in a timely manner and all of those things. Some of them won't even pay invoices unless they're received via EDI. So you try to send them a PDF or you try to send them an email or anything of the such outside of EDI, and they're not even paying it. But your AR team doesn't realize until it's late. Until you're like, why are we past our 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day terms? This doesn't make any sense. And then the trading partner goes, well, it's because we need you to be EDI compliant and you're not. That's huge. What if they say, listen, we don't send orders via fax, email, anything outside of the EDI? Well, that's lost opportunities. What if they even say to you, hey, before we'll even look at you being a retailer of us or a supplier for us, what we need from you is we need you to be EDI capable and EDI compliant. Don't have a conversation with us if you don't have it. That's huge. Some people think that, oh, we can just keep getting away with it. We don't have to worry about it. All of those things. But then question why their company is not growing, especially in the retail space. So you got to look at what makes you retail ready. You don't control the rules because you're reliant on those retailers to hold your products, to provide your services, to do all of those things. Without them, do you really have a business? Most retailers do require EDI. There's not really exceptions for the SMBs. What I always say is if you're going to have any type of power or leverage, you better have a product that they can only get from you. And it has to be a very wanted product. If you're not in that category, which very slim companies are, then you got to worry about EDI. And you need to make sure that you take care of EDI and you do those things. There's generally no flexibility on that compliance. Retailers don't adjust to your process, you adjust to theirs. It's that as I've talked about, the old wagon wheel, they're the hub, that's the center of that wagon wheel, and you're a spoke on that wagon wheel. So you have to look at it from that vantage point of who owns this and why is this something that you have to do? Because they make the rules. They're going to tell you what needs to be done. They're going to tell you what they need from you in order to process your product. So it's a real thing when you're dealing in the cash flow connection. And what does that mean, cash flow connection? You typically call it order to cash process. You'll hear that. You can look it up. There's a lot of people that refer to it. And that's your purchase order acknowledgement, your shipment documents, your invoicing, and then there's other documents that fall outside of that. So you have to look at what does that look like? PO, ASN, invoice, payment. If an ASN is wrong, you have shipment issues. If an invoice is delayed, you have payment delayed. That's a cash flow issue. If data is wrong, deductions can happen. Okay. And again, I'm not telling you these things as, oh, this is the scary part of EDI. I'm telling you this as this is the reality of EDI. You need it to grow, but you also need a proper partner to keep your growth and costs, well, your growth maximized, I should say, and your cost minimized. So think of it that way. What's going to keep our growth maximized and our cost minimized? And you're going to need somebody to sit down and explain these things and walk you through it and have the years of experience to say, let me guide you. EDI isn't just about documents. Ultimately, it's about getting paid. It's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get paid. In most of the EDI industries, most of the industries that are handling and dealing with EDI, it's the same thing over and over. You're sending healthcare claims so that you can get paid, so that your insurance company will process them. You're sending freight invoices so that you can get paid. You're sending load tenders so that your product can get to somewhere. You're doing all of these things, so ultimately money is involved. So the key to a lot of this is a successful EDI implementation setups, all of those things. What happens when EDI isn't done right? A lot of people are going to relate to this. We shipped it, but we didn't get paid. We got hit with deductions and don't know why or where did it go. We're constantly fixing errors on manual interventions. That's not good. Every time you're having to touch the data outside of your ERP, WMS, TMS, or whatever system you're dealing with, it's not a good thing. A lot of your data should flow based on your conditions, your rules of your business, and go from there. Why SMBs stay stuck in this cycle? It's unclear on onboarding, poor provider experience, lack of internal expertise, and fear of long-term commitment. A lot of the contracts that are out there, they want you 2, 3 years, 5-year contracts on EDI. These are from the provider standpoint. Think how long that retailer relationship should last. Hopefully it lasts for decades. Typically, people put their EDI system in place and it's in there for decades, just like their ERP systems. If you select the wrong one out the gate, that's a problem. Look for somebody that can help you. Whether it's internal or external, look for some and the team that can help you. Making that selection, figuring those things out, and especially somebody that's geared towards small businesses. If they're geared towards small businesses, as an owner of a company that's geared towards small businesses, that EDI provider is going to have the staff and the knowledge to help you out. They're typically going to look like they got way too much staff. It's better than looking like they have no staff at all. If they have no staff at all, or they're constantly removing people for the AI movement, there's a problem. As a small business owner, as somebody that's been dealing in EDI and integrations and APIs for decades, you need human interaction and experience to help you. AI is great and it has a fit, but it's not the answer and the end all be all when it comes to EDI processing. So that's what I want you to really think about when you're an SMB is, who does that partnership look like? What does it look like? It's typically going to be for decades. However long your business is in play, in the retail space especially, you are going to be linked up with some type of provider, in-house experience, external experience, whatever that looks like for handling your EDI. The experience hasn't been built with SMBs in mind. It's a fact. Many may not like it, but it is true. Most of these experiences for EDI have been built for enterprise level. The big company, the companies that are paying a lot of money, because that's what a lot of businesses are after. Let's be real. You're after that big payday. You're looking at that thing that can grow your revenue. I tell people on a constant basis, if we don't have positive cash flow, we don't have a business, and that's a problem. So we have to look at what are those things. That is why Elevate has been built intentionally for small businesses, keeping their hesitations and needs in mind. You are truly an underserved segment in the EDI space. Again, a lot of companies are not set up to handle small businesses because there's a lot of handholding and there's a lot of involvement. So I figure if I can build a business to help small businesses and I keep that in the forefront, I can easily handle enterprise level businesses. Small businesses take a lot more workload. That's why you see the larger EDI providers that love dealing with enterprise, because that's typically a higher profit volume and a higher margin for them to deal with. What EDI should actually feel like is clear onboarding, predictable timelines, minimal internal effort, visibility into processes, support that actually helps, not support that turns you away. Again, I'm going to say this, and it seems like I'm constantly beating them up, but they constantly are the ones that give me headaches. SPS Commerce, we've sent out tickets to them on different cases because we have clients that, of course, you have to deal with SPS, especially in the retail space, because a lot of major retailers have them as their service provider. We've gotten our tickets cross-checked and going to the wrong departments as of lately. I think it's because they enabled AI. because they weren't ready for AI, and it's assigning cases to the wrong clients. It's thinking this client is this client when really we help all these different companies that have SPS interactions because the major retailers are using them as their EDI provider. So we've had issues with case assignments. We've had issues with their team thinking it's a different client, thinking it's an integration client, and it's not. It's a mess. So I could only imagine what a small business is dealing with if you're facing those frustrations. And that's coming from somebody, again, who's been doing this for over 28 years. My team is completely frustrated with the interactions. But we're staying the course and we're trying to get things done for our clients. Because that's what we're here to do. You know, we need to move towards simpler, more SMB friendly EDI models instead of asking, why should I pay for EDI? You should be finding providers that really have your best. They want you to succeed. They want you to be successful. They want you to grow and be that partner. So that's where you have to think of EDI as to help you grow, especially if you have the right partner and you have the right people that are behind it. Are we perfect? No. EDI Support, LLC, and Elevate are not perfect products or perfect servicers, but we lead with customer service focus. So we try to do our best to make sure every angle is taken care of. And that starts with me as the owner. So what is it costing me to not do this right? Well, practical advice that I have for most SMBs: don't overbuy up front. Start with your key trading partners, the ones that are going to be your biggest bang. Understand your document flow, have that business process written out. Ask the right questions before choosing a provider. You know, we have a lot of videos on our LinkedIn and YouTube channel explaining what to ask. We also have packets that we can send out that'll help you to evaluate. You know, talk to different providers and use our scorecard in the description to rate different providers. Look at the things and the tools that we've provided for free to help you. Those you're not paying for, and they come with years of experience putting it together of how can we help the small businesses. You know, EDI feels expensive. You're probably looking at it the wrong way. Not probably. You are looking at it the wrong way. It's a constant conversation that I have with people. You know, if you can deal with a relationship up front and they provide you a simple, easy portal to interact with them from a retailer standpoint, do it. Once you start feeling pain, look for a provider that can help you alleviate that and automate it and make it easier. But I'm all about trying to save money right out the gate. But eventually, you have to look at what's going to allow us to grow. Who's going to help in supporting us to grow? So as I try to do, I try to put these videos out to help you. I always like people to share comments, like our videos, track our things on LinkedIn, join our Discord. It's all of these things out there that we're putting together to help educate and get people to where they need to be. So as I sign off from another Wednesday, hopefully it stops raining here in Pennsylvania and it gets a little bit nicer. But we need the rain also. So it's one of those things, you deal with it. I hope you do well. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Jim Gonzalez, EDI Support LLC, and we will talk to you when we have our next session. Take care, everybody.
Meet Elevate, the modern cloud-based EDI platform designed for growing businesses that may or may not have EDI experience and deserve better. No installs, no servers, just secure real-time EDI that works for you anywhere. Get EDI compliant with 200 plus retailers like Walmart, Target, Chewy.com, Amazon, and more without the hassle of endless back and forth. Elevate automates every document, from purchase orders to shipment notices to invoices, so you can focus on fulfillment, not formatting. We set up your trading partners, map your data, and test every connection end to end. Once approved by your trading partner, you go live quickly and confidently. Have an ERP? You can now easily connect Elevate with your ERP via APIs, CSV, or XML, or use any flat files. All systems will now talk to each other. And when you need help, you get real humans, not bots. We're your EDI team, start to finish. Transparent pricing, no contracts. EDI that actually works for you. Elevate your business today with EDI that cares.